If you've watched my videos from when I had my microphone on my desk, you probably heard this keyboard in the background. This is the Zenith Data Systems Professional 101 keyboard, and it's what I use on both my Pentium 3 and my main streaming setup. I love these so much. I have 3 of them so that I will hopefully never be without a working one. The reason I love this so much is because I like tanky ass keyboards, and this thing is built like a tank. And also because it uses linear Alp switches. Alps were in the first keyboard I ever had, but the really loud ones in that, it was just too loud to use in a video or a stream. And these are linear. The linear ones in this Zenith are much quieter and more appropriate for playing games on video. Anyway, that's not the topic of this video. What I want to talk about is another Alps keyboard I bought for myself just to use with one of my older computers, like my 486. I didn't plan on making a video about this, but the restoration and repair I had to do on this thing sent me down a rabbit hole so crazy, I couldn't not talk about it. Hopefully this will help more vintage computer enthusiasts like me with repairing keyboards. This thing was actually listed as clean by the eBay seller, but it couldn't have been in worse condition. The moment I opened this box, I could smell pure iron oxide, and when I pulled the key off, I had an idea of what happened. Someone had spilled their drink into this keyboard sometime in its past life, and the entire row of keys under the F9 and F12 was dead. There was a clear mark of rust which looked exactly like a cascading liquid running down from the top of those F keys all the way down to right control. I could have sent this back to the seller, but it's actually a very rare and valuable keyboard, so I decided to try and save this thing. Alps keyboards are very simple design, and honestly, you can pretty much get anything working again as long as you have the spare parts if anything was like totally damaged. Asking the seller for a discount didn't work, and the guy just ghosted me after that, which sucked. I definitely got ripped off bad, and I'm still annoyed about that. I didn't get this on video, but I filled the bottom of this case with hot water, which made it easier to dislodge the rust that was stuck to the bottom of this case. The shit was everywhere. One of the brass screw sockets here even lost its shining coating from that stuff. Nevertheless, I wanted to hook the keyboard up to test it, but the cable has one of these 90-degree connectors which don't fit on my 486. But I managed to find this AT extension cable in a box of PC stuff my friend Steve sent me years ago, and this fit perfectly. The keyboard then sprang to life, which was a great sign. 9 switches were not responding, and 2 of the lock LEDs were shattered, and so I proceeded to desolder them. My original plan was just to replace the switches that were dead and manually scrape off the rust. It was so badly rusted that I needed to use pliers to remove some of the switches, because rust causes the metal frame holding them in to expand. But the next day at work, I thought to myself that there's probably so much more rust underneath the plate too, and the only way I'll be able to clean that is by removing every single switch, which I really didn't want to do. But desoldering the 9 switches from earlier actually went really well, so I just figured I would put on some show in the background and go for it. I stayed up until 5 AM desoldering every switch, and when that was done, I finally got to the mounting plate. The moment I got access to the other side of the PCB, I immediately started swabbing it down and cleaning it of any residue from flux or corrosion or anything. As I removed each switch, I tested them for continuity to make sure they were still working. Usually when I'm cleaning an Alps platform keyboard, I like to leave the stabilizers in place like this, but I would never be able to restore the plate with these in there without damaging them. The fixers that hold the metal wire to the plate were so degraded in the rusty area that they just crumbled as I pushed them through. I had to force them out with a flathead screwdriver because they were pretty much fused into the rust. I needed to source new ones after this, and thankfully you can buy replacement parts from companies like Taihao and Matthias. They still make stuff for Alps platform keyboards kinda like how Unicomp does for IBM keyboards. That saved my bacon one day when I was gifted a Model M with a broken barrel plate. Anyway, I took the rusty plate over to my dad's place where he has all kinds of tools, and we used his angle grinder to sand the shit out of the rust. Then we painted the thing black. It looked really nice after that. I proceeded to take apart all 101 of the switches to clean the individual parts and prepare them for lubrication. Taking apart Alps switches is very easy, and you don't even need to desolder them to do this. Just pull back the tabs that hold the top housing shut and pull on the slider. I managed to revive 3 of the dead switches by poking my tweezers in between the switch plates and scraping the contact points. Seems like they just had some oxidization on them. I found 6 that were completely corroded beyond repair though, and I just put them out of their misery and salvaged their other parts, which will be useful for future restorations. I went on eBay to order replacements and was shocked at how expensive these are. These are Alps SKCM Blue. They are vintage switches, and unlike cherries, they haven't been in production for over 30 years. So finding replacements is getting harder and harder as time goes on. I also managed to source a pack of these cool old-fashioned green LEDs from Mouser, which will be perfect for restoring this keyboard since the original LEDs were the exact same kind. One of the most boring and tedious parts of any restoration, in my opinion, is cleaning every single key, and these keys were especially nasty. I just used Windex and Q-tips and went along every single side. This was the last thing I could do without the spare parts, which took several weeks to arrive, and so I just put everything aside and waited. The first to arrive were the new stabilizers, and I popped them into the plate as soon as I got them. I thought about using the new wire stabs that they came with, but they were slightly shorter than the ones that this keyboard originally had, and so I just left the originals in. I also did the wax mod on these switches. It's a clever method of restoring Alps which feel like shit, and it works very well. For so many years, fixing scratchy Alps was thought to be impossible. But this is like the miracle solution, almost like the cure to cancer or balding. I once got this original Dell AT101 which had salmon Alps, and they felt like pure sandpaper. But I did the wax mod on this thing, and they went from being a 1 out of 10 to like a damn near 10 out of 10. Zero binding, zero scratchiness, it's freaking incredible. By now, my patience for the spare switches to arrive just ran out, and I started soldering in the ones I had already lubed and reassembled. I also got the LEDs soldered in, which was very difficult to do, and they're crooked here, but I'm not touching those damn things again, because that was tough shit. The case will cover them up anyway. With as many switches installed as I could get, I hooked up the keyboard to my 486 to see if it was still working after all of this, and it was. Every switch and the 3 LEDs. 3 days later, I finally got the rest of the switches, and while I was very excited to just solder them in right away, the idiot who sold them to me thought that spraying some WD-40 in there would be the right way to lube them. They felt even worse than the rusty ones did, so I needed to do some more switch cleaning before I could continue. After that, I could finally just finish repairing the damn thing at last, and I immediately soldered in the remaining switches. I'm going to need a new tip after this, cause my chiseled edge was totally wrecked when I was done. I can't begin to describe how satisfying it is to put all the keys back on like this. It's the most exciting part of the restoration. After that, I reassembled the whole thing once and for all. And here it is, the Leading Edge DC3014. I hooked it up to my 486 to test it out using the Check It program, and every switch and LED works. This thing is like brand new now. It's as if no drink was ever spilled on the thing. This is probably the most in-depth restoration I've ever done on anything. Even though I got ripped off on this purchase, I don't really regret it because this was a fun experience and I learned many valuable lessons. Like not to use sink water to clean your circuitry because it will leave limestone all over the damn thing. Use distilled water and alcohol. I wish I could find which computer this keyboard was intended for, but I can't find any information. My best guess would be the Leading Edge model D2 or D3, which are 286 and 386 systems. And if there's anything more rare than this keyboard, it's those computers. I can't even find a single picture of the D3 anywhere. Just a motherboard diagram on M-Barons. I did find the manuals for these computers on the Leading Edge website. That thing is still up, believe it or not. But the manuals both show the DC2214 being used here, which was this weird looking keyboard. The more successful Model D computer has a similar keyboard to this, but an XT layout. Either way, I have plenty of AT computers to use it on, and I've been playing lots of games and typing up part of the script with it. It types like a dream. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this little project. It took a month to finish this just because that's how long I waited for parts to arrive. I haven't made a keyboard video in a while, and it's fun to do one of these again. I hope this will help anyone who may have damaged keyboards like this. As long as the controller is good, you can pretty much always fix an Alps keyboard. Thanks for watching. And here's a little test drive on this thing.